Hello everybody, Cindy Ashton here from Your Persuasive Voice, and you better settle in. We have a really long live Facebook today, and so I wanted to talk to you today about when it comes to sales and getting bookings and negotiations. So there's a lot of systems out there, there's a lot of procedures and processes out there, and yet I see a lot of people who've gone through all this stuff, and yet for whatever reason, they're getting only average results. So today I want you to settle in, because what I'm about to share with you is going to twist your mind in a new way around, oh, it's not just about knowing the steps. There's something in between that's missing. So settle in, because I'm so excited to be able to share with you these pieces. So as I said, we're talking about sales, getting paid bookings, and negotiations, and how to negotiate yourself to the next level. And just as a side note, for those of you who didn't read my Facebook post, I've been picked up by a much bigger network. And when we did the negotiations, I am getting paid equal, if not better, than men in my industry, which is a big deal in Hollywood. A lot of Hollywood people do not, when it comes to women, don't tend to get paid the same. So we're going to be talking about negotiation a little bit later. All right, so let's get into this. So let's talk about sales. So I'm going to give you some examples of what's happening out there. So there's a lot of really great sales trainers in the sense that they're excellent at helping you figure out what is your what's the process? How do you prospect? How do you take people through a sales conversation? How do you close them? And they're really good with all the nuts and bolts. Now, that may get you big results, but most of the time it only gets you average results. And why is that? So let me tell you a couple of stories. So the first is a client that I have who was taught his 8 steps. His company said, these are the 8 steps. And every day he would go to work and he'd be like, okay, here are the 8 steps. I've got to follow these 8 steps. And when I follow these 8 steps, I'm going to boost my sales. And he was getting average results. He was kind of in the middle of the pack with all the other salespeople in his company. And so what ended up happening is when we worked together, now I'm quote unquote not a sales trainer, but most of my clients end up making a lot more money, and here's why. How you present yourself makes all the difference. Now, just before we go there, I just have to say that how you present yourself, and I don't mean stand here, do a speech effect here, point here, gesture here. That's what normal speaking training does. So you better hang on to your hat, because this isn't normal speaking training. So all that canned stuff actually makes you really, really unauthentic. So for example, a lot of speaking trainers will say, use speech effects. So really articulate and make your voice louder and be confident. But doesn't this push you away? It has that push energy. It's very, very aggressive. So what I do with my clients, and what I want you to start doing, is breathing deep into your pelvic floor. And you're going, what? So in our pelvic floor, we have our splenic nerves. Now, our splenic nerves is our sexual nerves. Now, in no way are you ever going to be sexual in your sales process. However, when you breathe down here, look what happens. When you breathe down into your pelvic floor, it activates those nerves, and that's what creates magnetism. So instead of going, I'm going to be confident and I'm going to present myself and get people to see that I'm confident and they're going to believe in me and they're going to buy from me, that's very pushing energy. I'm probably pushing you away right now. But the minute I drop into my body and I start to activate my voice, everything relaxes, my voice relaxes, it's naturally loud, and now I'm pulling you into me. Hopefully you can see what the effect is on video. It makes a really big difference. So that was the first thing. Now, the second thing is that with my specific client and a lot of my clients, is that because they know their 5 steps or their 8 steps or their 10 steps to deliver a sale, they barrel through that going, oh, I need to remember, now I have to ask this question, now I have to do this, now I have to do that. And what they're doing is they're barreling through, and they're not actually authentically connecting to the person. And they're not actually taking that person in. So we've just talked about the splenic nerves and how when you drop into them, they create magnetism. But when you also drop down to that area, we're also stimulating the celiac nerves, which is your second brain. It's where your emotional sensors are. So you can sit there and try to be confident and da-da-da, but once you drop into there, you're naturally being able to really be able to stimulate those nerves, which makes you emotionally connected to the other person. partially because when you're breathing in that space, you're activating your oxytocin, which automatically connects you to other people. So when we go back to the sales process, so we've got this down, the reason why you're not going from average to extraordinary is because you're not dropping into the body. You're not activating all these nerves that have this scientific proof around dragging people into you, not dragging, but engaging them versus pushing yourself on them. But also when you're so busy in your thought process around this is how a sales process goes, what you're doing is you're losing sales because you're actually not fully looking at the other person, taking them in and following direction because you're barreling through and then you're disconnecting. So one client, for example, went from 38% to 81% in sales after 5 sessions. Another client went from 4% up to 40% after 6 sessions with me. That is the power of learning to really, how do you breathe into your body? How do you activate those nerves, those connection nerves, to really get people connected to you? How do you be able to take people in and respond effectively to them and not get stuck in your sales process? And how do you really ask the right questions to really get deep with that person? They feel that connection to you, that they want to work with you. So those are the missing pieces that are really, really important, that really do make the difference between going from average to extraordinary. So that is one layer in terms of sales. It's all about dropping in and then connecting that breath to your voice so that you're more dynamic and more engaging to draw people in. The way that you use your speaking voice and use a breath connected to your voice, there's ways you can pause and slow down and bring the voice back up, and all these things has a visceral effect on your potential client. So we talked about sales. Let's talk about getting paid bookings, okay? So when you're getting paid bookings, of course, it's a sales process and there is a process, but again, you want to drop into your body and have that connection. But here's the number one problem I see with people prospecting for paid bookings as well as prospecting just for clients, okay? So when it comes to prospecting for clients, people seem to think, I'm just going to call you out, and this is not to make you wrong, but it's just an awareness. But when I ask people about their business, they're like, oh yeah, I am crystal clear of my clientele. I'm crystal clear of the value I deliver. Oh, I've got this down. But when I ask them, like recently, last week, someone says, oh yeah, I work for corporate and I do wellness stuff. And then she admitted later on that she doesn't actually get paid to do this and never has. And so I'm not judging, but the thing is that she's like, but I've already hired other speaker trainers and they said that I do wellness in corporate. And I said, listen, that is so big and so general. At corporate, are you doing manufacturing? Are you doing cosmetics? Are you doing financial services? Blah, 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 blah. Then within that, who are you targeting within a company of 10,000 people? Is it salespeople? Is it customer service? Is it the diversity sector? Is it the CEOs? So a lot of people are out there trying to target their market and they think they're specific and they're not. You really, really need to get very specific. So if you coach people, for example, there's probably a lot of coaches, and let's say it's wellness, since we're on this, you can't just tell me that, oh, I coach entrepreneurs on being healthy so they have more vitality to be able to be more productive. It's pretty good, but it's not specific enough, because when you go out to prospect for speaking engagements or you want to prospect for clients, you're then going to a million different places. You're then going, oh, here's another women's group I can go to. Ooh, oh, here's another networking group I can go to. Yay. Oh, here's another big conference on motivation. Yay. And you're going out there and you're basically spewing spaghetti on the wall and hoping that it sticks. Now, what I love to do with my clients is get so specific that I'm able to say, great, this is exactly where you need to go to get in front of your clients. Now, listen, I recognize that you as a brilliant entrepreneur, coach, speaker, or business professional can probably serve more than just one niche, and I'm with you. And what I'd also like to invite you to think about is if you don't have 20 hours a week to market and you only have 3 or 4 hours a week to market yourself, you want to be really effective. So when it comes to getting paid speaking, you want to get to the point, and this is what I help my clients with, but you want to get to the point where you know that you're looking for HR directors in the manufacturing field and specifically targeting their customer service reps, for example, because then you've just went from 10 to 20 hours of wasting time a week marketing yourself, splattering stuff, to going, oh, manufacturing, this is where I'm going to. Oh, banking. And so one of my favorite lead generation strategies, which I'm going to give you right now, is this. Is once you know what that market is and who you're targeting, then you can look online for online trade magazines or go to this bookstore. Imagine that. Do we even go to bookstores still? Hopefully. So, you go to these bookstores, for example, and get a trade magazine or go online. So I have worked in every possible industry in 20-year career I've had. But let's say that I wanted to do a really big leap for a second quarter of this year, financially and client-wise, and I would go, okay, I think I'm going to target, let's see, cosmetics fields. Okay, great. Now I can start looking for trade magazines that are specific to the cosmetics field and serving their sales professionals in terms of me helping them to sell cosmetics better, for example. Now I know that I'm looking at these trade magazines, and guess what? There's events listed and conferences and associations, all of which that I can go to, network, meet the decision maker. They'll fall in love with me, of course. And then all of a sudden I've got that connection to be able to get bookings. And the other piece of it is then I'm also able to get in front of potential clients. So it's really, really important that you get very specific. If you cannot get specific right down to exactly the person that you're targeting and exactly what that niche is, you're doing a lot of work and you're not getting results very fast. So it's just something for you to really, really think about. Okay, awesome. I'm getting like all these like beautiful like hearts and stuff. Thank you. Namaste. If you need, we still have to talk about negotiation, so stay with me. But if you need help with boosting your sales in terms of how you're coming across and how you're interacting with people, if you need help with getting targeted so you can get yourself bookings and more clients, PM me and we'll do a consult. Now, let's talk about negotiation. So first of all, women, I love you, and we need to step up and ask for more money, and we need to be asking for more things in our contracts and for what we're delivering. Women are notorious for not asking as much from the get-go, and I think it's a cultural thing. I think it's the way we're raised. I think it's in our DNA. I do think that there is some scientific brain ways that we're wired compared to men. So in my 20-year career, I've definitely had, my male clients will come up to me and will look at their pricing, for example. And they would say things like, oh yeah, I'm like I only take clients on at $5,000 or more. And I'm sitting there going, wow, you just started coaching and you're charging $5,000 already? Whereas my women will go, okay, so Cindy, I'm just starting out and maybe I should charge like $50 an hour. Literally. Sometimes they'll come up to an hour to 100. And let me tell you that those clients, those men are asking for $5,000 out the gate, and they're getting it because there's a level of confidence that they have. And they're not, with women, we need to step up and we need to own who we are, own our power, and we need to be able to ask for bigger and better and be able to serve the world in a bigger way. So talking about negotiation, the first thing is I want you to start asking for high, okay? And then you can start to negotiate yourself in. So let me give you a couple, I'm just looking at my notes of what I was going to talk to you about today. So let me give you a couple of really great examples of how you can negotiate. So for example, speaking engagements. I've been in the industry 20 years. I'm kind of that borderline moving from professional speaker into celebrity status, especially with my TV show being picked up by a big network and all that jazz. So now when I get on the phone with somebody, I automatically say my speaking fee is $10,000. And here's the thing. First of all, nobody really gawks at it because in corporate, they're like, okay, let's check with our budget. It's that easy, right? And if they don't have it and they come back to me, I now have leverage. So for example, I'm going to give you an example of something that happened last year. They came to me and they didn't have my speaking fee. And I was able to turn around and said, okay, I totally hear that this X amount is your budget. And I also know that your audience is really struggling with XYZ because I did a needs analysis, which is something I teach my clients how to do. So you told me that your audience is struggling with XYZ. Is that right? Okay, so, and we know that I can deliver that. So if we were to create something that's a win-win, would that sound like a good plan? And they all say yes, because I've already taken them through my sales process and they've already bought into me and they know. So what ends up happening is because I've asked the right questions in the sales process, I already know where I can leverage myself. So for example, for one company, and I need to be careful not to say who, but they didn't have anywhere near my speaking fee. And so what ended up happening is they gave me what was in their budget in terms of money, and they gave me a corner booth at a big conference that they had with like 5,000 people. So they were selling that booth off for about $1,500. So I got a $1,500, value, and I was able to obviously interact and sell and give away free stuff to bring in potential clients. And then I also leveraged, because I knew that they had a massive email list that was specific to the city that I was in, that I was about to give a workshop in. And I said, hey, can you do 2 solo email blasts about my upcoming event? And here's what's amazing. I didn't have to market my event in that city, because they did a solo blast to announce the event, and then they did a solo blast to say that registration was closing and the early bird was closing. And can I tell you that they saved me about 10 to 20, 30 hours worth of my time to market my event? Their 2 email blasts sold out my event and gave me an extra $4,000. Right? So when we talk about negotiation, what happens is that most people, especially women, A, won't ask for a high enough price, and then they have no room and no leverage. And B, they don't say, listen, let's create a win-win. There's other things that we can do to be able to give me my value aside from money. And the key is asking the right questions, but it's also about finding that win-win, but it's also about really seeing what else can you create together and being willing to have that conversation. And I find that especially women just either feel defeated and go, oh my God, I'm still getting underpaid. I can't believe I accepted this amount, or they turn away and they're like, I can't believe it. Da, 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 da. You can't do that. You got to stay in the conversation and negotiate, okay? Another example is, again, I had something a couple of years ago. They didn't have my fee. They only had a certain amount. And I ended up negotiating an extra $10,000 worth of like publicity and ad space in their magazine, which was way more than my actual speaking fee. So I really, really hope that this is helping you get your head around all these different pieces. So when it comes to sales, getting bookings and negotiations, it really comes down to these few things. It really comes down to dropping in your body and bringing people to you, and using your breath and using your voice and your body language to bring people to you instead of pushing yourself on them. The second piece of it is really about learning to really focus and listen and ask the right questions and really take in other people, not just what they're saying, but listening and feeling into their energy and being able to do that interaction. The other piece is being very specific and very targeted in your message and how you lead generate. And we talked about one of my 16 strategies to get you in front of your specific exact audience. The last piece of this, thank you for more likes and hearts, yay! The last piece of this, of course, is negotiation. And I keep saying this, but please go high and negotiate down if you have to, and you might end up getting a lot more perks. So here's my invitation to you. If you are loving this content, if you are getting average results and you want to go to extraordinary, I am that coach. I am that person that takes people from average to extraordinary. You can PM me. We can do a 15-minute consult, no obligation. If we're a good fit, great. And if we're not, then we're not. But at least you've gotten in that conversation and you're taking action on getting your voice out into the world, getting your message out into the world, going and making the impact you deserve, and of course the money you deserve. There is no shame in being rich, okay? I see a lot of people go, oh, but I'm doing my gift and my love. I shouldn't be so greedy. It's not about greed. The more money that you have, the more that you can give to yourself, to your family, to your loved ones, the more that you have the capacity to hire team members so you can go out and be more of your brilliance, the more that you can impact bigger lives. It's not about the money. It's about impact, and it's about how you are able to nourish yourself and the world. So if you feel like you want to see if we might be a good fit to work together, go and PM me, or just go to yourpersuasivevoice.com/schedule, yourpersuasivevoice.com/schedule. If you have any other questions, post them in the comments below and I will respond shortly. Go and have a beautiful day. And there you go. Bye, everyone.